all generational planning secrets, tax planning for the 1%. But really, any family should be aware just of the amazing tools that we have out there to protect assets. So, Mike, talk to us about that.
You might be kidding yourself about the size of your estate. When folks come in and talk with us and they roughly estimate the value of their estate, they'll be 25% lower than reality when they come up with their estimates. So you have to be objective and realistic about what your estate is worth. The current level of estate tax protection is very high. It's almost $13 million per person, like $26 million for a couple. Very few people are above that. But around here in the Bay Area of California and in Southern California, your home alone could create a taxable estate for you. So you have to accept that fact that there's value there and it could be exposed to the tax because in 2026, it goes down to like half of the current level, $6.5 million per person. But if you're a single person and you have a nice house, you may have a taxable estate whether you want to accept it or not. So we have to think about this. There's also the possibility that the level of estate tax protection will drop. That could happen. There are multiple steps that you can take. Let's go through some of the basics. You can utilize this thing called the $17,000 annual exclusion. You can give that money away to any number of people year after year, and you don't have to report that to the IRS. So if you're blessed with a larger estate, you can make these gifts, removing these assets from your estate, maybe utilizing that crummy trust that we referred to earlier for grandkids. It's a tool that sits there for the taking. You can pay medical bills. You can pay tuition. You're helping family members out. You're reducing the size of your taxable estate. Now, that's the low-hanging fruit. You don't have to really think about those. They're obvious. You just have to know about them and then take advantage of them. But what can we do that's a little bit more sophisticated? We do call these the tools of the 1% because folks who acknowledge that they have a larger estate tend to talk with us and we tend to deal with it. But again, you have to think about it. Think about the growth of your estate in coming years. Real property around here just goes up whether we like it or not. And maybe there's a lull in the growth right now, but it's only a lull. They're going to keep going up. So let's look at this example. Dave and Sarah, they have two. Here's Sarah again. Hey, she's doing well. Okay, their estate is already about $25 million. The estate's growing. They're concerned about tax. They want to protect assets for their kids and for their grandkids. So the first thing they're going to do, they're going to set up dynasty trusts for their two kids. Then we get into some of the more sophisticated approaches that we can utilize. One approach utilizes discounting. An extremely simple example is the following. We might set up a limited liability company or a family limited partnership to hold a particular asset. And then the parents who start out owning the entire entity, they start giving away portions of that entity. Mom and dad remain in control of that entity. They give away limited interest to the kids. If a kid has a limited interest in their dynasty trust, well, they have no control over that. They can't sell it. Mom and dad own the property. They can't compel a distribution. So their ownership interest is actually legitimately limited. They just can't do that much with it. If it was 10% of a $100,000 asset, that would seem to be worth $10,000. In this concept of discounting and tax planning, it's not. We would take at least a 20, 25, 30% discount when we look at the value of their interest. So rather than holding $10,000 in my super simple example, that would really be valued at maybe $6,000 or $7,000. If we take that up to $1 million,
multiply it by thousands, and that's these are not taking huge risks. These are accepted by the IRS, where you can essentially make hundreds of thousands or even millions vanish from your estate. You might not consider yourself high net worth, but again, the estate tax exemption could be dropping in the next few years. It could drop even more to where just owning a house in parts of California could present this issue. And these strategies could be relevant to you. So we want you to be aware of what they are. We've done it for so many clients. It's just extraordinary what we can do. And Mike wrote a book about this. It's called Beat Estate Tax Forever. It's available to our clients. It's also actually available on Amazon. But usually we talk a lot about family protection trusts, generically known as dynasty trusts, because they're often part of the plan. You want those ahead of time. But we can use LLCs and special irrevocable trusts. There's GRITs, there's GRATs, there's all sorts of personal residence trusts. And I think the main point we want to make is there's so many techniques we can use to protect assets and really to make assets legally vanish from your estate when it comes to estate and gift tax exposure. It's just so powerful. We do have a specific webinar on our Gilfix Law YouTube channel called Estate Planning for High Net Worth Families. There's a couple webinars we've given on that if you want to see more detailed examples of what we're talking about here. And it requires coordinating across generations. You don't do this unless you're talking to your kids or kids are talking to the parents. You do not do this without including your kids or your parents in the discussion. Any notes, Mike, as we think about these issues, the importance of communicating ahead of time about this and how multi-generational planning is part of this?
We are cognizant of the property tax issues presented by Proposition 19. So some transfers for estate tax purposes create problems with property tax. So, we have to coordinate. We have to look at that. We have to think about capital gains tax. What assets do we want in the estate for the stepped up basis? What assets may make sense to transfer and not worry about that? It's a moving target. Everybody's different. Every family is different. Assets in a family are different. Is there a family business? What are the nature of the investment? So again, multifaceted, incredibly powerful.
It's easy to find us. Gilfix.com. 650-493-8070. Hey, we hope you enjoyed that. Like, comment, share it with someone who could benefit from this. Stay tuned for so much more free legal educational content on the Gilfix Law YouTube channel. Subscribe. Let's be in touch.